everyone, and welcome back to the Girl with the Shovel. Today we are going to be propagating a Schefflera, also known as an umbrella plant. Okay, so what you will need today is you will need some pruning shears. Here, I've got my scissors here. You will need, if you are doing soil propagation, you'll need a pot with some soil in it. You will also need some rooting hormone. It usually helps when you're doing soil propagation especially. And then if you're water propagating, then you'll need a little container and some water. I love these little baby food containers. I've kept all of them. They were great. So I have a bunch all over my house. Anyways, so those are the things that you'll need. I'll show you both methods today, both soil propagation and water propagation. I'll be taking 2 cuttings, and then we'll also look at a few that I have started a while ago and kind of see how they're rooting. Okay, so to start off, we're going to be taking a cutting. So here is my Schefflera plant right here. I've got this taller branch that is kind of sticking up from the larger overall plant. So I'm going to be cutting from here. I'm going to be cutting quite a bit lower so that it can start branching out over here. And what you want to make sure when you are taking a cutting is that you have some nodes. Now, nodes are where the leaves come out of the general stem. So I'm going to be cutting it. Okay. And then, so you see, this has quite a bit of a bare part here, but if you'll see, we have lots of different like bumps in a way. So these are great. These will start to root, but then also where you have these little intersections. So this is a leaf node, and these are important that you have a few of these on each cutting. Okay, so I'm going to actually cut this into 2 because it's pretty big. Okay, now this is a pretty tall cutting, but it will have several leaf nodes, and I'll probably water propagate this guy. And then this one, you see it doesn't have that many exposed nodes, so I'm going to actually remove some of these lower leaves. Okay, because the leaf stem actually comes around a little bit more. And if you see, there's actually a little node right in here. So you can see that a little bit. So you want to make sure that you have several nodes that are exposed and a couple of sets of leaves. So you don't need a lot of leaves left on your cutting. In fact, this is 4, this is plenty. This is going to be more than enough, and this just has 3. That's also great. I've seen it with just 2, and it does well. Okay, so that is what you will need. Make sure that when you're getting a cutting, you aren't taking it from, or you are taking it from the branch and not from one of the leaf stems, okay? Here is a branch and here is a leaf stem. If you just cut it off of here, you won't have anything root. Okay, you need a portion of this kind of branch. Okay, so now we're moving on to rooting our cutting. Now, if you're using soil, here we have my pot with some nice fresh soil in it. Okay, and I like to make a little hole with my finger already. Okay, then you're going to use your rooting hormone. Okay, this is mine, my rooting hormone. It lasts for a long time. So I'm going to dip my cutting into the rooting hormone. Some people say that you need to put it into a separate container and stuff so you don't like contaminate your whole rooting hormone. I've never had a problem with that. Let me get a little bit more to cover that upper node as well. Okay, so there you have it. So that rooting hormone, it's just filled with chemicals that help stimulate root growth, okay? So there we go. And then as you saw, I already made my hole in the pot. So that when I put my cutting in here, it isn't pulling off all of the rooting hormone, but it will stay on the base of the cutting. Okay, so I'm gonna put that in there. And then I'm going to water it in. And there you go. And next up is if you're putting it in water. Now, I've had good success with water. These plants are, they root in water very well. They don't have too many issues with rotting, so you don't have to dry out your stem as much. To be safe, I usually do still dry it out for a few hours or like a day, so the cut part can seal over. Because when the cut is open like this, then it can get a lot of water in it and it can start to rot. And so a lot of times, to be safe, you give it a few, like a day or two for that cut to seal, just air dry kind of, and then it will be less prone to rotting in the water. But to show you how we're doing it today, I'm just gonna skip that step. I'm gonna move on to putting it straight in water. So here is my water. I'm just gonna stick this guy in, and he is done. And next you wanna make sure that you're placing your cutting in medium light. You don't want anything too bright and direct because that can burn the leaves and it can dry out your cutting, especially while it doesn't have any or very few roots. You want to make sure that it's somewhere where it can stay moist and where it won't dry out super quickly. So I tend to put it in a lower light or a medium light location just until it starts to send off some new growth. And then once it starts to grow and put off some new leaves, then I'll start moving it up into some brighter light, but not direct for this guy. Never any afternoon direct sunlight. Sometimes morning direct sunlight, but not afternoon direct sunlight. So here is one that I have water propagated several weeks ago. And as you can see, it's already got some nice new growth here, and it is getting quite a few nice roots on there. Okay, so this guy is ready to pot into some soil. So I'll be doing that soon. As soon as you see these secondary roots coming off of the main root, then it is good to go. That's usually how I gauge it. Okay, and now let's take a look. I have started some cuttings about a week or two after the original one. I did one in perlite and then I did one in just straight soil. So let's see. So normally you can kind of tug. I would tug on the leaves a little bit and see if it kind of sticks. That is a little sign that you're starting to root. Okay, so I'm going to dig down here. I'm starting to see some good tissue. So I will put this back in. And then for the soil propagated one, oh, yeah, that is not doing well. This is why it's important to dry out the cutting, okay? These ones, I just popped it in. I wanted to see how they did, okay? Soil holds on to a lot more moisture than your perlite, okay? And with the other cutting that I did in water, I actually dried that out for like 2 days before I put it in, okay? So this is what it looks like when you don't dry it out and when it gets too much moisture into the cutting. So I'm going to rework this cutting and so that it can be successful. But that's a great example of what happens when it is failing and why your cutting is failing. It's usually, I'd say like 95% of the time, it's because you did not let it dry out enough. Okay guys, so that is how to propagate your Schefflera or umbrella plant. If you want to read more about tips and tricks, you can go ahead and head to the link in the description. That is my blog post where I share even more little tips and tricks on how to successfully propagate your umbrella plant. And then, if you want to join a loving Facebook group, join Houseplants for Plant Killers, where we talk all about our houseplants and how to keep them alive and thriving. And then if you like this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss another video. I will see you in the next one.